Man, just to quote John Wick, and if I can paraphrase what John Wick said in the movie, they asked, he said, people keep asking me if I'm back. And then his answer was, yeah, I think I'm back. And guess what? We're back here at Pigskin Frenzy. We are excited to be back. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and a Merry Christmas and a very happy New Year. And the holidays are kind of, going towards the rearview mirror. It's, a day after New Year's. It's January 2nd in the year of our Lord, 2025. We are 2025. Yes. So this is the first ever Pigskin Frenzy episode for 2025, January 2nd. I said we are coming back on the 2nd, and we are back. NFL edition of Pigskin Frenzy today. We're ready to rock and roll. With that being said, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, listening on Apple, big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X, Instagram, all you got to do is type in Pigskin Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. You're going to find my thoughts on everything, highlights across college and NFL football. There's trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's NFL trivia question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. There's the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you'll find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. There is a contact info down below. Name, email, and info and question. I'll answer it on air or off air if need be. There is also platforms page for all the platforms I just mentioned. You can go and click on which one's your favorite listening style of the show. Follow and subscribe on all platforms, including there's a store and affiliations page. More on those pages coming soon as we continue to update the website for Pigskin Frenzy. NFL day today. No college football episode this week because it was New Year's. I was out, celebrating New Year's with friends and family, and most importantly, family, because family is everything, especially on Pigskin Frenzy. I hope the Lord has blessed everybody with a solid holiday, and God's good. God is good. He got us back to Mississippi and back here to the War Room, Pigskin Frenzy in Illinois. Pretty safe. So the Lord is good. I was praying for everybody, and I hope that the Lord has blessed you guys in this holiday season. And continue to have faith. Continue to have faith. If you figured something out that it was not good and just didn't have the best holidays, don't worry. The Lord will provide anyway. He knows your needs, and Jesus is so good. Praise be to him. So, NFL today, we're going to rock and roll. Ready to rock and roll because it's been quite a hectic couple of weeks. We covered week 16. We went into week 16 and we did week 16. We did week 17 on social media. Now we're doing week 18 back here for Pigskin Frenzy on the podcast. And we covered the college football playoff on first round and I think quarterfinals on social media. And now we're going to recap everything Tuesday. So episode is back for Tuesday, if y'all are wondering. So let's talk about the games that we covered. If you're not following and plugging in on social media, you're probably not going to know what the heck I'm talking about. But if you have been, thank you. Keep plugging in on X at Pigskin_Frenzy and on Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Keep plugging in, keep following, turn those notifications on. Turn those follows on. You'll get everything up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. You'll know my picks and my thoughts, and I had plenty of them on both platforms, and we covered the games that we covered for week 17. We're going to recap those, and one of them was on Christmas Day, and I said I wasn't going to do a Christmas game, but guess what? Joel Norris did anyway. Christmas Day game, and we're going to kick it off our week 17 recap with this one. First game, Chiefs at Steelers. I said that this game was going to go on X and Instagram. I said that this game was going to be the Chiefs defeating the Steelers. I didn't give it a score. I didn't really give it a score. These weeks when I posted on social media, I don't give scores that often. But I said that the Chiefs were going to defeat the Steelers, and guess what? I was right. By the way, in my week 17 picks, 4-0. Got every game right that I picked. 4-0. Final score, Chiefs 29, Steelers 10. 29-10. Chiefs defeat the Steelers, 29-10. Chiefs are 15-1. Steelers are 10-6 as both gear up for matchups this weekend for the last week of the regular season before the playoffs start next week. So the playoffs will be in effect next week as we cover them for NFL. Now, Chiefs 29, Steelers 10, Christmas Day special on Netflix. If you didn't have a Netflix account, I'm sorry. If you did, the stream worked. The stream worked. It wasn't like Tyson and Paul in that fight. The stream worked. It was good. It was an actual good stream. Praise be to Jesus on that one. So, Christmas Day, the Lord's Day, we watched the Steelers get defeated by the Chiefs. Here was my whole thing. If we want to recap the games, Chiefs kicking off with them, starting off with them. On paper, the Chiefs were, let me put it this way, total yards and passing were the difference. But if you want to talk about rushing, and if you want to talk about third down and penalties and time of possession, the Steelers had them beat. But the Steelers also gave up some big plays in their own right. It was kind of back and forth, but the Chiefs ended up coming away with a victory because they were a little bit more explosive. And they had, guess who? Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, in this game, 320 yards, 3 touchdowns, 29 for 38. This is probably statistically one of his best games all season, and it was on Christmas. So the Chiefs played really well. Kareem Hunt, 20 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 carries. Pacheco had 18 yards, 6 carries. Mahomes had a 12-yard run. The ankle is not bothering him at this moment, I guess. Travis Kelce, 84 yards, a touchdown, 8 receptions. Xavier Worthy, a touchdown, 79 yards, 8 receptions. Justin Watson, 60 yards, a touchdown, and 2 receptions. Juju Smith-Schuster, 18 yards, 2 receptions, and DeAndre Hopkins only had 7 yards and 2 receptions. Okay, defense had 5 sacks. I think the defense in this game, again, paved the way for the offense to put up enough points to get them by in this ball game. Are the Chiefs' offense electric? By no means. No, they're not. They're not electric, and by no means. But here's the deal. It blends. It's like my fade that I got on my head. It blends, right? It blends. And they blend. The Chiefs defense helps them out, and the offense feeds off of the strong and physical defense of Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs. And guess what? Patrick Mahomes and the offense, and Neil Magny, and the offensive play caller, offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, they lean on that defense to help motivate them to just get enough points to get the win. Offensively, they were better than previous games. Like I said, Mahomes put up probably one of the best games statistically he's put up all season. However, there's still some things that they need to clean up. Are they 15-1? Yes, they are considered. They are right now the number 1 team, not only in the AFC, they're the number 1 team in the NFL. The Chiefs are 15-1, the number 1 seed in the AFC. If you put money down on it, they're on track to three-peat and win a 3rd straight Super Bowl. But that's also if you put money on it. We don't know yet. Week 18 is coming. It's the last week of the regular season. Playoffs are in effect. The Chiefs have some stuff to work on, like running the football just a tiny bit better. 69 total rushing yards. That's a negative circle moment for this Chiefs team, I think. If you want to look at the passing, positive circle moments. I just named a bunch of positive circle moments. Defensively, positive circle moment. They sacked Russell Wilson 5 times in this ball game. Positive circle moment. They were physical on defense. Got snagged 2 turnovers. Positive circle moments. Passing the ball, Mahomes, positive circle moment. Let me tell you, in my opinion, on what was the negative circle moments. And I really can just tell you this right now. I think, excuse me, as I look at the notes, I think that the negative circle moments for the Chiefs relied on 3rd down, 3 for 10 on 3rd down. They were 100% on 4th, which is good. They had 9 penalties for 90 yards. And then 69 total rushing yards. Those are the things they got to clean up, especially the penalties. 9 penalties for 90 yards is going to lose you some ball games. Those aren't just drive killers. They're what, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. I heard you say it. Game killers. They are game killers. And the funny thing is, they usually the calls go the other way, but the Chiefs have been committing more and more penalties as the weeks go on. So I think the Chiefs just need to calm down on it, and I think they need to settle down. Running the football, it takes time. They're slowly getting Isaiah Pacheco back and ready to get a hold of everything, right? To get everything right, get everything good. They're slowly trying to get everything good because he just came out from a knee injury. So Kareem Hunt not having the biggest offensive impact like he did when he was on, starting, but they're getting some yardage. They just need to get better yardage and run the ball more effectively, balance out the offense. It's been tough. But we will see, right? We will see. A big question mark on the Chiefs is the O-line. I think the O-line, because Mahomes is going to get the ball off quick, especially in this game. In this game, the O-line did not allow any sacks. They protected him in the sack department, but they didn't protect him under pressure a lot. They are getting beat on the line of scrimmage, and it's showing because Mahomes has got to get the ball off really, really quick. Now, I'm not saying, look, you're not going to have all day to throw sometimes. I understand that. But, man, you also got to give Mahomes enough time to complete a play and complete the process of stepping back. Sometimes the Chiefs don't have that right now. Offensive line woes are a big concern of mine with the Chiefs, and I think that could cost them as well. Now, here's what I do like about this Chiefs team is like I said, their defense and their willingness to find the way to win. They're battle-tested, and they only lost one game, and it was to Josh Allen and the Bills. The only team, there's a couple of teams out there that are battle-tested like them. The Bills are one of them. The Lions are one of them. I'm going to say the Vikings, and the Vikings are another team. Those are three teams right there that are battle tested that could probably combat what the Chiefs are doing right now. Point blank, I think that the Chiefs are battle tested though against anybody else, and they find ways to win. That's just coach. That relies on defense. That relies on coaching. That relies on just like Mahomes finding plays and scrambles and will and things to win. It just, the will to win on this Chiefs team has not gone off. And somebody has got to figure out a way to combat that and figure out a way to break this team. Because right now, nobody besides the Bills on that one loss has broken this team. 15-1, and they're on track to, they already clinched the number one seed with this win. So they are on track right now to probably three-peat if nobody can stop this, if no one can stop their will to win. And it's hard. It's going to be very hard. Final score was 29-10. Chiefs get the win over the Steelers. Let's talk about the Steelers really quick before we move on to the other three games that we covered. The Steelers just couldn't get the momentum going. They couldn't capitalize on a lot because when they would go down the field, they would screw up and they would mess up. So let's talk about it. Russell Wilson in this ball game, 23 for 37, 205 yards, one interception. Najee Harris, 74 yards, 13 carries. Jalen Warren, 71 yards, 11 carries. Russell Wilson had a touchdown, a rushing touchdown, 55 yards, 6 carries, and a touchdown. He's 36 years old out here running the ball. Pat Freiermuth, 60 yards. George Pickens, 50 yards. And then the list goes on. But they couldn't capitalize on those drives, so they were kind of stagnant on offense. The running game was electric. 202 in the rushing department. Total yards rushing is 202 compared to their 69 yards. They had 5.5 yards per play, which is good. 364 total yards and 162 passing yards. That was that was some of their positive moments. The negative moment, if you want to add the passing in there, could be a negative moment. 162 yards passing total. If you want to add and I'm going to add some more negative circle moments, but third down efficiency wasn't one of them. 8 for 16, that was half, right? 50% on third down, that wasn't too bad. They converted on 50% of their third downs. Not efficient, non-existent on fourth down. They only had one conversion one attempt to try to convert on fourth down. They failed. But here are 4 penalties, 25 yards, not the best, but they minimized a lot of their penalties. So those are some positive moments. And 3 minutes more of time of possession compared to the Kansas City Chiefs. If you want to look at their negatives, though, and here are some negatives that I think could cost them. I think 5 sacks is plenty. in this game. And what I mean by plenty, I mean it can cost them in the playoffs. That's a game killer. 5 sacks. You got to protect Russell Wilson. 5 sacks in this ball game that the Kansas City Chiefs got to Russell Wilson 5 times. And they need to protect him better. I will say 2 turnovers did not help in capitalizing. They try to capitalize on drives. Every time they would look to capitalize on the drive by scoring, a turnover would happen, a fumble, an interception, and the Chiefs would capitalize off those mistakes. You can't do mistakes like that and expect against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs and go for the big dogs, if you will, and expect expect to get away with it, right? They're going to make you pay for that. And that's what the Chiefs did. They made them pay for it. Fumble, interception in a crucial Christmas Day game, in a home game nonetheless, in a crucial game where your chances even more will boost if you win. And they didn't. They gave him the ball. They turned the ball over twice, and the Chiefs capitalized on it. The big guys capitalized on it. Have you ever heard of the quote? And you've probably, most likely, everybody has already heard this. But have you heard of the quote? If you try to swing at the king, you best not miss. This was it. I mean, if you try to swing at the Chiefs, you can't miss. And the Steelers missed. That's all it was. They swung and they missed. 2 turnovers, crucially, and the Chiefs capitalized on it. 5 sacks, and the Chiefs capitalized on it. You can't do errors like that and expect to win a ball game, especially against a Chiefs team that's trying to three-peat and they're 15-1 and the number 1 seed in the playoff. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's all you got to say about this game. I mean, final score was 29-10. The Chiefs, coming up Sunday at 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central, play the Broncos. And we are covering that game. We are covering that game, and we are going to get ready to rock and roll on that ball game. Saturday night, Week 18 regular season, January 4th, is Bengals at Steelers. Bengals at Steelers, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, on NFL Network. And we are, going to watch it. Going to see it and cover it. Excuse me. Bengals at Steelers, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, on NFL Network. We're going to cover that one as well. Playoff hopes for both teams are on the line between the Bengals and Broncos, and we're going to cover those games Saturday night and then on Sunday afternoon. 2 games we are covering for Pigskin for Week 18. 29-10 was the final score. Chiefs defeat the Steelers. Let's move on. And let's move on to Bengals at Broncos, because that was an interesting game. Saturday afternoon, NFL Network, Bengals, going into Saturday night, Bengals at Broncos at Bengals. Tough game for the Bengals, because if the Bengals would have lost this game, they would have been out. I picked the Bengals to win. Backs are against the wall. I picked Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and I got it right. Bengals 30, Broncos 24 was the final score in overtime. It was a wild game. Field goals being missed, not capitalizing on drives, we're in play in this game. It was a wild sequence at the end, but the Bengals got a go-away and a go-ahead touchdown to win the game to keep their playoff hopes alive. The Broncos are still in the driver's seat. Ain't that weird? The Bengals won the game, but the Broncos are still in the driver's seat to get that last spot in the AFC playoffs. Let's talk about the Bengals really quick, and then we'll dive in to the Broncos and playoff scenarios for this. So, how about Joe Burrow is still a menace? We are going to talk about the MVP conversation that I had on X in a minute, but we're going to talk about these games first. But Joe Burrow, as I can get my notes ready, Joe Burrow, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns, 39 for 49 passing. Chase Brown, 67 yards, 20 carries. Burrow also had 4 total touchdowns, by the way. Sorry. 4 carries, 25 yards, 1 touchdown for Joe Burrow. T. Higgins had 131 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 11 receptions. Jamar Chase had 102 yards, 9 receptions. Mike Gesicki had 86 yards, 10 receptions. Andre Isivas had 59 yards, 3 receptions, and the list goes on. Defensively, they worked hard, played hard, and were very, very physical in this ball game. And, got to Bo Nix twice and turned the ball and forced a turnover. So good on the Bengals defense, especially Cam Taylor-Britt in this game as well. So Cincinnati, if you want to look at total yards, let's look at the positive circle moments. Joe Burrow and T. Higgins was absolutely elite. Those were the positive circle moments along with Jamar Chase. The offense played lights out and they were on fire. This was the offense that we've been asking for since mid-season. And if they would have done it mid-season, they wouldn't be fighting for a playoff spot because they would be in. 40-99 total yards compared to their 329. 384 passing compared to the Broncos 206. Rushing 123 for the Broncos compared to the Bengals 115. But the Bengals still ran the ball well with Chase Brown. And 5.9 yards per play for the Bengals compared to their 5.5 yards per play. 7 for 13 on third downs. They were converting on third downs. 1 for 3, not so good on fourth downs, but that's okay. Only 3 penalties for 15 yards, not the best, but not bad at all. And then only 1 turnover. Well, those are some negative circle moments there. A huge negative circle moment for the Bengals was the sacks. They have to protect Joe Burrow. It is square one. That has been the problem for the past few years, ever since Joe Burrow has been in the NFL in 2020. It has literally been, in the past 5 years, it has been sacks. 7 sacks allowed in this ball game against, and it's hard to say this because you're facing the number 1 team in the NFL in sacks with the Denver Broncos, but it's still hard. You got to still try to protect Joe Burrow and do it. But they sacked him 7 times, and the man still threw for 412 yards and had 4 total touchdowns. That's unbelievable. That's MVP caliber numbers, and that's a whole discussion that we're going to have in a minute. But the Bengals look like they're in prime shape to make a run offensively. Now, defensively, they still got some things to work on, still got some things to do defensively, and they still have to be a little bit more physical up in the middle. That's it, really. But if they would have been playing like this the past 2 weeks all throughout the season, it wouldn't be a discussion. They would be in a higher seed and not fighting for the last spot in the AFC playoffs. They wouldn't be. I think that is the truth. Joe Burrow's playing lights out. He belongs to the MVP conversation, even though I have Josh Allen winning the MVP. And I think Josh Allen should win MVP because he's deserving. I think Joe Burrow should be in consideration because he is having a historically wonderful season. That's all I'm saying. That's literally all I'm saying. 30-24, Bengals have a crucial game Saturday. They win. They have to rely on the help of the Chiefs. And as far as I know, they have to rely on the help of the Chiefs because they play the Broncos if the Bengals win Saturday against the Steelers. As I'm looking through my notes, I apologize for the long pause. Okay. If Broncos win Saturday, Chiefs have to win, and the Jets have to win. They are rooting for the Chiefs, and they are rooting for the Jets because they will get the last playoff spot if so. However, if the Steelers win, it doesn't matter. So it does not matter if the Steelers win. So they have to have a huge game against the Steelers this Saturday. It's all or nothing this weekend for Cincinnati. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, Saturday night on NFL Network, Bengals at Steelers. Let's talk about the Broncos really quick because here's the deal. I think coaching, and this is how they lost the game, coaching and decision-making decision-making was the key reason on why they lost this ball game. I think that they were kind of stalling on the last few drives, which you don't do, and the Broncos and the Bengals ended up making them pay for it. So, Broncos, Bo Nix, Positive circle moment, 3 touchdowns, 219 yards, 24 for 31. He is in the conversation to be the rookie of the year, bar none. Him and Jaden Daniels are the two most promising players as rookies right now. It's a fight between them to get rookie of the year because they have both been playing exceptional football this season. McLaughlin had 69 yards, 10 carries. Bo Nix had 31 yards, 7 carries. Audric Estime had 24 yards, 9 carries. Marvin Mims Jr., 103 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8 receptions. He's been playing elite and playing really good for Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton, 55 yards, a touchdown, and 5 receptions. Bailey had 27 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Estime had 13-yard reception. Bo Nix has kind of leveled up, right? Has been leveling up and is trying to lead this team to the final spot in the playoffs as a rookie. Jaden Daniels has done it with the NFC side of things. Can Bo Nix do it for the AFC side of things? The Broncos are fighting, and they've been fighting all year, especially defensively. 7 sacks. 7 sacks and 1 turnover by this defense. This defense is gritty. They're physical, and they are a very tough defense to play against, hands down. And Joe Burrow put up 412 yards on them. And I'm sorry, 499 total, almost 500 total yards on this defense. And this defense is still tough to play against. So, albeit to Joe Burrow for doing that. This just goes to show how elite Joe Burrow is. Because this Broncos defense is nothing to underestimate. Nothing. So, the problem really with the Broncos, because they played good on those aspects. Those are the positive circle moments. Bo Nix, Marvin Mims Jr., all positive circle moments. The running game, they ran the ball really well and played physical up front. Here's the problem. The negative circle moments was the end of overtime, decision-making, and coaching. And then number 2, if you want to look at the stats, 4 for 12 on third down, 7 penalties for 35 yards, and that interception late. Those are the big, crucial moments and negative circle moments for this team. They can't do that in the playoffs. I mean, they can't do it this weekend either, but if they make the playoffs, they can't do that in the playoffs because that's their season and that's it. If they get the 7th spot in the playoffs, the final spot in the playoffs, whoever wins and gets the final spot in the playoffs has to face Josh Allen and the Bills round 1. So it's going to be tough. So against a Bills team, you can't make decisions by like stalling out on offense late and or time management and or you have to convert and play better on third down. Some of these basic things that the Broncos lacked in the end of this ball game, you can't do it against the team like the Bills because you're done. If that's the case, you're done. So the Broncos have the Chiefs Sunday. They have the Chiefs Sunday. They're in the driver's seat. If they beat the Broncos, all they need to do is win. All they need to do is win. And none of the other stuff matters. Dolphins are out, Bengals are out, and the Broncos get the last spot in the AFC playoffs. The Broncos just have to win. The Broncos have probably the easier path than everybody, especially if the rumors are true, which is the Chiefs are most likely going to rest their starters for the next 2 weeks and get ready 2 to 3 weeks later for the divisional round of the AFC playoffs with Mahomes and everybody else. They're going to rest them until the divisional part of the playoffs, which is in 2 to 3 weeks. Or 3 weeks, rather. So, if they do that and the Broncos have all their starters and the Chiefs drop this game and they go to 15-2 and the Broncos win, they're in and they're going to be in the AFC playoffs. So, it doesn't matter. Let's see. 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central. Chiefs at Broncos. The Broncos are still in the driver's seat, but the Bengals get a crucial win to keep themselves in it. 30-24 in overtime. Bengals defeat the Broncos here. 2 more games, and then we will, go to the other conversations and then preview and predict Week 18 here at Pigskin Frenzy. Let's talk about the Rams and the Cardinals on Saturday night because we did that one on Saturday night as well. Saturday night. The Cardinals are done, so this didn't really matter. But I did this one because it mattered for the Rams. And it mattered because this is going to be a way for them to clinch the NFC West. Or, I'm sorry, NFC West. I'm thinking about the AFC playoffs. NFC West. It was a way for them to do that. And guess what? I got it right. I picked the Rams to beat the Cardinals, and they did. Final score of this ball game, 13-9. Not Rams 13, Cardinals 9. It was a low-scoring game in Los Angeles. And the Rams, in the process, have clinched the NFC West, and the Seattle Seahawks, who were 9-7, you would think a 9-7 record would do it, are out. They're out. You would think a 9-8 record would do it too, but they're out. Seattle Seahawks are not in the postseason. They're eliminated from playoff contention. Sunday will be the final time we see the Seahawks this year until next year against the Rams, and we're covering that game as well. So 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central. Seahawks at Rams. NFC West belongs to the Rams. The Rams have clinched a playoff spot as well, so the Rams are in the playoffs, and they have clinched the NFC West division. So, the Rams are in it. Let's talk about the Rams, because Sean McVay has turned this team around. They're starting off 1-4 in the start of the season. 1-4 to start the season. Now they're 10-6, NFC West champs, most likely the 4th seed in the NFC playoffs, and they are in. Quite the turnaround, and they were battle-tested and keep fighting. That's another team that's battle-tested, and I forgot to mention. The Rams, they're very battle-tested, and they're very hungry. That's a battle-tested team. They fight, and they don't quit when their backs are against the wall. I've been pretty accurate in some areas besides 2 games in predicting the Rams. The Eagles and Bills were the 2 games that I got wrong. But I've been pretty accurate about the Rams. And I said that this Rams team is better than advertised. But the only problem was their injuries, and the only problem was how they and the injuries and how beat up and how lack of players they were, and a lack of depth they were lacking as well. They didn't have enough depth as well. But when they started getting their healing up and getting injuries back, or getting their players back, they started balling out. And they were a physical team, and they played hard, and they worked hard to get where they're at. Honestly, it was probably the best turnaround I've seen all year for the Rams. And I'm not joking. They started off 1-4, and it's a huge, huge turnaround for the Rams. Let's talk about the Rams in this game. Matthew Stafford, 189 yards, 17 for 32. Kyron Williams, 56 yards, 13 carries, and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford on the ground had 16 yards and 6 carries. Can you believe that? 129 yards for Puka Nacua, 10 receptions, 129 yards. Cooper Kupp had 129-yard reception. Williams had 16 yards, 3 receptions. The defense was electric, including a clutch interception by Ahilio Witherspoon at the very end of the game. That was a very clutch interception. Kyler Murray was about to score and get it. He threw it, and Witherspoon came up with that game-winning interception for the Rams to do it. Huge, huge play on defense by the Los Angeles Rams, and it was an exciting, low-scoring game to watch. The Rams played physical on defense, and they played physical the whole game up front. Here are some positive. Those are some positive circle moments for the Rams. Some more positive circle moments. No sacks, 6 for 15 on 3rd down, no turnovers, and 257 yards total yards. Now, if you want to look on paper, the Cardinals beat them on paper. Total yards, 396 compared to the Rams, 257. 283 passing compared to their 189. 113 rushing compared to the Rams, 68 rushing yards. And 5.4 yards per play compared to the Rams, 4.8 yards per play. They beat them on paper. But defensively, the Rams just found a way to do it defensively. And I'll tell you why. 2 picks, 4 sacks for the Rams. It was huge. It was a huge game, and defensively, they came up big. I think the defense gets a lot of credit here, and they're probably going to think, oh, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, they did good, but the defense gets a lot of credit here for this win. They stuck in it. They got turnovers, they got sacks, and they put pressure on Kyler Murray, and that's how the Rams did it. They won it defensively. Solid play and physical defense by the Rams. The Rams Sunday have the Seahawks. The Seahawks are on Sunday, 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central, at home for Los Angeles. It's a game that doesn't mean much anymore. We thought it would, but it didn't. The Rams ended up clinching both playoff spot and the NFC West. The Seahawks are out of it, but it's still a good game that we're going to cover because we're going to cover the rematch of it because we covered it first a few weeks back. So final score, 13-9, Rams defeat the Cardinals. The Cardinals are out of it. They're going to get ready for next year. The Cardinals got the 49ers coming up Sunday, but let's talk about the Cardinals for a little bit. Let's talk about what led them, even though on paper they won, it looked like, and how they still lost. Kyler Murray, 1 touchdown, 321 yards, 33 for 48. Kyler Murray, 32 yards, 4 carries on the ground. Michael Carter, 70 yards, 13 carries there. Trey McBride, 123 yards, a touchdown. Marvin Harrison, 96 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr., 96 yards, 6 receptions. And Michael Wilson, 22 yards, 4 receptions. Defensively, they played physical, but the Rams kept fighting, and I think physicality mattered, and I think the Rams out-physicaled them, and that's how the Rams won it. But not only that, some positive circle moments that I just mentioned earlier. I mean, they outgained them in every yards per play and total yards in general. So those are the positive circle moments for the Cardinals there. Kyler Murray playing really well through the air. Positive circle moment. He has played a lot better this season, and the Cardinals, have had a better record this year than they have had in previous years under Kyler Murray. So they're getting somewhere. The Cardinals are slowly but surely getting somewhere. You just got to be patient. And I think that's a problem with a lot of teams in this league. I posted it on X. There's a lot of problems with the teams in this league. They're impatient, and they got to be patient. The Jets were not patient with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is in a battle Sunday night for the number 1 seed and the NFC North title against the Lions with the Vikings. So, yeah, you just got to be patient. Kyler Murray and the Arizona organization, they're being patient with him. 7-9, a better record than normal for the Cardinals. So good on the Cardinals. I think it's been a better season for the Cardinals than most people realize, and they were a very underrated team. So those are some positive moments there. You want to look at the negatives of what cost them this game. 9 penalties for 62 yards and 2 interceptions. Kyler Murray threw 2 picks, including the game winner, because he was about to throw a touchdown that could have won him the game, and he threw a game-winning interception to the Rams. So there we go. Game-changing interception to the Rams, and the Rams won it off that. So those are some negative circle moments. And the penalties were atrocious. And I think that's really what cost them overall. Cardinals Sunday, though, they have the 49ers. They have the 49ers, 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central. Huge game. Last game of the season for both teams, and until next year. And let's see who can pull off their season with a win. Final score, 13-9. Rams defeat the Cardinals. They move on to the Seahawks, and the Cardinals move on to finish their season against the 49ers. So, last but not least, before we move on to the conversation for injury report and the conversations that we had on X, and talk about that before the games. Packers-Vikings is the one we did. 4:25 Eastern, 3:25 Central kick last Sunday. I said the Vikings were going to beat the Packers. I got it right. 4-0 in all my picks. Final score, Vikings 27, Packers 25. This Vikings team is something else. They're battle-tested. They are good. And Sam Darnold, the man that everyone before the season was hating on and not giving a chance, and I will admit I was skeptical about it myself. And guess what? He has done nothing but prove everybody wrong this season. Hands down, prove everyone wrong this season. Sam Darnold popped off. 3 touchdowns, 377 yards, 33 for 43. Aaron Jones, 47 yards, 12 carries. Cam Akers, 18 yards, 6 carries. Justin Jefferson, 92 yards, 8 receptions, 92 yards. Jalen Naylor, 81 yards, a touchdown, 5 receptions. Jordan Addison, 69 yards, a touchdown, 6 receptions. Cam Akers had a 15-yard, 2 receptions, and a passing touchdown to Cam Akers. Hawkinson has 68 yards, 5 receptions. This Vikings offense is underrated. They have the best wide receiver in the NFC. They have a solid secondary receiver in Jordan Addison, one of the most underrated tight ends in TJ Hawkinson, and they got a solid 2-back system, a solid 3-back system with Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, and Ty Chandler. They are solid on offense, and they are solid up front as well. Defensively, solid as well. They're the number 1 rushing defense in the National Football League. Defensively, they are loaded there as well. They only held, and pretty good too, for a Packers offense that likes to run the ball. 104 rushing yards. They only held them to. The Vikings are solid on both defense and offense, and they are a solid and physical team, and it showed in this ball game at home. The Vikings are solid. 441 total yards compared to the Packers 271. Passing 372 compared to the Packers 167. Packers 104 rushing yards compared to the Vikings 69. And then yards per play, 6.3 yards per play compared to the Packers, 4.8 yards per play. 6 for 12, 50% on third down. They only allowed 1 sack. They protected Sam Darnold a lot. 7 penalty. And those are some good positive traits. Some negative circle moments would only be probably the interception and 7 penalties for 47 yards. They got to clean those up. But other than that, this Vikings team's for real. They're battle-tested, they're hungry, and they're proving that the Lions got some competition in the North. The last really, really close game that the Lions played, well, if you don't count the Bills, was the Vikings. Well, excuse me, and the Packers. But the Vikings gave them a scare. And I think that the Vikings are a team where they could probably pull it off if they wanted to. They are in line, and this is a game Sunday night, to get the number 1 seed in the NFC Playoffs, which means bypass the first round and wait for a few weeks into the divisional round. So, if you look, I'm looking at the stats. Or notes. If you look at the Vikings on paper have the team to do it, to win the NFC, to go the number 1 in the NFC, and to be in the divisional round. But they're playing a tough Lions team Sunday, so we'll have to see about that. We'll talk about that game here in a little bit. Listen, the only thing that the Vikings really need to do is run the ball a little bit better, and I think committing less penalties. That's about it. This team's very sound on both sides of the ball. They have the best receiver in the NFC. Sam Darnold, the resurrection of Sam Darnold. I haven't seen Sam Darnold play like this since USC, and I'm not joking. When he was in college football at USC, I have not seen Sam Darnold play like this. And Sam Darnold has finally found a home to where he is consistently playing ball and consistently winning. And Sam Darnold saying, you know what? I learn as a backup in the 49ers system under Kyle Shanahan. I'm going with Kevin O'Connell, and I'm going to create some magic on offense in Minnesota and try to lead this team to the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. And he is doing that right now. So all my flowers are going to Sam Darnold. The only question is about J.J. McCarthy, but that's a whole nother conversation. Sam Darnold is the man right now. He is doing really, really well for the Vikings. All credit goes to him in this ball game because he played his heart out in this ball game this past Sunday. Vikings, Sunday night, have the Lions, 8:20 Eastern, 7:20 Central on NBC. Sunday Night Football. Vikings at Lions to decide, and this is for the NFC North Division title, and it's also for the number 1 seed in the NFC Playoffs. Winner advances to the divisional round and has a bye in the first round, because both teams are already in the playoffs, the Vikings and the Lions, and the winner will have the NFC North title. Final score of this game was 27-25. Vikings defeat the Packers. The Packers have already clinched a playoff spot, so the Packers are in regardless. We got 3 teams from the North in. Lions, Vikings, and Packers. That's just how good the NFC North is. The Packers are already in. They've already clinched a spot. So nothing to worry about there. But what they can be is a dangerous team in the playoffs, and I still think they're a dangerous team because the Vikings were running away with this game in the first half, and the Packers, well, all of a sudden, started having some life. They started having some life. 8 for 14. Excuse me. 8 for 14 on third down. If you want to look at the total yards, 271, 167 passing, 104 rushing, 4.8 yards. Those aren't bad numbers. So those are some positive circle moments. Let's talk about Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love, 185 yards, a touchdown, 19 for 30. Not the best, but not bad, right? 169 yards, 1 touchdown for Josh Jacobs. Emmanuel Wilson, 29 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving, Romeo Doubs, 58 yards, 7 receptions. Tucker Kraft, 53 yards, 2 receptions. Wicks, 43 yards, 4 receptions. They played physical on defense as well, and they played really hard on defense. 1 pick was thrown. They had one turnover. 1 turnover in this game. The defense played physical, and they got to Sam Darnold at least once and got to Sam Darnold and got a couple of stops. They got a couple of stops with the Vikings punting twice, so they got a couple of stops. The Packers would not give up in this game, and I admire that. That's a positive circle moment for this football team. Now, if you want to look at the negative circle moments for this team, the penalties, 7 penalties for 51 yards, the late interception, that's got to stop. They got to change that. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I think the Packers have a shot at being a team that can play spoiler in this playoff. They're a solid team. I said earlier in the year that the Packers were a playoff team, and I knew they would be. I think they have a shot at really upsetting some teams in this field and probably making it if they wanted to, make it and play spoiler and go to the NFC Championship if they wanted to. They almost did it last year against the Niners. Can they do it again this year? We're just going to have to see. But they're a solid team in the playoff field, and I think they're a team that you're going to have to be kind of skeptical about playing in this field. It's a loaded field in the NFC. 3 teams are out of the North. 3 of them. Lions, Vikings, Packers. All teams you pretty much don't really want to play in this field. The Packers Sunday, they have the Bears. Bears at Packers in Green Bay, Lambeau, 1 Eastern, noon Central, Sunday afternoon. The Bears finish their season against the Packers, while the Packers finish their regular season against the Bears, and the Packers move on to the playoffs after that. Final score, 27-25. This Sunday night football game is going to get serious. It's for all the marbles, and we here at Pigskin Frenzy are definitely covering it because it's the best game on this weekend in the NFL, hands down. Final score, 27-25. I'm excited. Let's go. That was the Week 17 recap for the games that we covered for NFL while we were on social media and in Mississippi for the holidays and Christmas. Let's talk about some of the conversations we've been talking about on social media here in a little bit. But before that, actually, let's do the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. Only 1 injury to report. And we're not going to do a whole list, only 1 injury, because it is kind of sad. And to me, it is sad. It's heartbreaking. It happened in Week 16, but there's some more news out of it after Week 17 as well. Texans wide receiver Tank Dell, his knee is out for the rest of this season and next season as well. It was a severe knee injury. And our thoughts and our prayers, and we are praying hard, and we've been praying hard for Tank Dell to make a speedy recovery for 2026, to make a speedy recovery in playing football and being with him during his time, family and friends. And hopefully, and we're praying for his family and friends as well. We are just praying for him, and hopefully he heals fast and quite nicely and makes a speedy recovery, because it was a tough injury. He has damage in almost everything in his knee. I saw it against the Chiefs on the 21st. It was heartbreaking. You never want to see a player go down like that, and it was rough. And we are with him, thinking about him, and we hope that he hopefully there's more prognosis. It's a better outlook for 2025 instead of him missing the whole season. But right now, it's looking like he will miss the entire season of next year as well. He will have multiple surgeries on his knee. I can't it is a whole list of things that that the injury happened and he tore in the knee, and it's a lot to go over. So we're going to keep praying for him. He's going to make a speedy recovery for 2026, and hopefully everything goes smoothly for Tank Dell as he makes this long road recovery in his knee. We are thinking about him, and we kind of dedicate this episode to Tank Dell, and we are thinking about him as well. So thoughts and prayers are with him and Tank Dell, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery soon. That was the Pigskin Frenzy NFL injury report. We're going to move on to these three topics, and then we'll cover the preview and predict Week 18 of the NFL season coming up this week in the games that we are covering. Now, the last week of the regular season, some conversations that I've seen on X, and we're going to talk about it, the MVP conversation, and it is heating up. The battle is right now, and I said this last episode on 185. Go and listen to it. It's on X. It's on Instagram. The post is why I think Josh Allen should win MVP. He's the Heisman winner of the NFL because of the way he's playing and the way he's balling out. I stand behind that. I think he is equally deserving to win MVP. Now, however, the NFL, there's a difference, and I've been explaining this on X. A lot of people are saying, but look at the stats, look at the numbers. Lamar has better numbers. Lamar Jackson has better numbers. Joe Burrow has better numbers. Yes. Yeah. Josh Allen's up there with them, but those two quarterbacks have better numbers. Here's the key in all of this. Are we thinking about it as most valuable player? Are we thinking about it as statistic-wise and QBR? Are we thinking about it in winning in positioning? Because if you want to look at it as most valuable player to the team and number-wise with passing touchdowns and passing yards in a historically good season, you got to give it to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has had a historically good season. Joe Burrow would be your MVP if you're looking at it and basing off your facts that way. If you're looking at it in a way of, okay, QBR rating, right? QBR rating, number one QBR, better numbers than Joe Burrow in rushing. And if you want to look at it that way, you give it to Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson has been sensational to watch play. He has been balling out this year to try to get his third MVP as well. But if you want to look at it from a perspective of winning consistently and positioning, because the Bengals are fighting for a playoff spot. The Ravens have won games. They have also lost here and there and kind of been hot and cold. And they have been hot and cold. Don't say that they have not, because they have been. If you want to look at consistent winning after the Ravens loss, who's got the number 2 seed currently, who has been balling out in the process of getting the number 2 seed, clinched it early, if I might add, in early December, first week of December, and if I might add, is like getting 6 total touchdowns a game doing it, you got to give the MVP to Josh Allen. The NFL's logic, to me, and this has been going on for the past few years, is winning and positioning. Lamar Jackson balled out and had wonderful stats, and he deserved to win MVP. There was nobody else that was going to win MVP but him. I said that last year. I said the MVP was Lamar Jackson's to lose, and it was. But if the debate this year, if you want to look at winning and positioning as well, through the roof, they were the number 1 team in the AFC last year. Where the Ravens were, he deserved to win MVP. The Bills, winning and positioning. Now you're going to say Mahomes should win it because it's winning and positioning because Mahomes has won, the number 1 seed. Well, yeah, but his numbers aren't of Josh Allen's. Josh Allen's numbers are better. And he's got him in a position at the number 2 seed. So if you want to look at it like that and the others' logics, then you got to give it to Burrow or you got to give it to Lamar Jackson. But here's how I'm looking at it. I'm thinking about it how the NFL thinks about it. And how the NFL thinks about it is one thing: winning consistently and positioning. Two things: winning consistently and positioning. And you got to give it to Josh Allen because Josh Allen's done that. So, and pretty much put up insane numbers in the process. So give it to Josh Allen. I think he will win MVP currently if I might have a say-so right now. That's the MVP conversation that we are having. It was on X. Keep engaging with me on X, guys, because I love it. I love it. Follow me on there, at Pigskin_Frenzy, Joel Norris on X. Keep plugging in there and follow and subscribe on the podcast too, and keep listening to the show. 4,300 listeners and counting. Big thank you for listening to Pigskin Frenzy. 2 more topics, and then we'll move on to the Week 18 preview and predictions. Let's talk about the Raiders and give you my take on coaching changes and what the Raiders need. I saw an article, and it said that or a report, and it said that the Raiders are looking to move on from Antonio Pierce, even though he won this past weekend and has won the past couple of games. Here's why I think they do need to move on from him. And you're going to think you've always hated Antonio Pierce. I don't hate Antonio Pierce. I love Antonio Pierce. I think Antonio Pierce is a good dude, solid guy. I think he's got some great energy. He had some great energy in college at Arizona State. He's had some good energy for the Raiders, and he's the Raiders head coach. He's brought the energy. It's just translating it into on the field, and it's not translated on the field. Draft decisions and decision making was not good by Antonio Pierce and management for this past year's draft. I will say this. They picked up the best athlete in the draft in Brock Bowers. They did that, and that was really, really good. They have some weapons up there, but they need to develop more players on offensive line. They need some more O-linemen. They need some more players on defense besides just Max Crosby. And they need a quarterback. They need a quarterback right now. Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are both good. If you want to develop them and get an OC in there that can do some good work with them, then by all means do it. And a quarterback coach that can do some good work with them, by all means do that. But I think that they need a new head coach. And I think that Antonio Pierce was not the guy to begin with. Point blank, I don't think he was the guy to begin with. I said that when they hired him. When they were going to pull the interim tag, I said that this is probably going to be the wrong move. And it has been the wrong move. It's been the wrong move for the past year and a half, 2 years. And I think it's time to get a head coach in there, a solid head coach like a Mike Vrabel or like a Ben Johnson, to get them on the right foot and to win ball games and to get the Raiders back to prominence. I think that's the correct move that needs to be made. I think they do need to fire him to get them back to prominence and to get everything in Las Vegas turned around. That's a money organization. Look at the location. Look at what the stadium is, Allegiant Stadium, a super cool, nice stadium, and look at what's outside. It's the entertainment capital of the world. The Sphere is there, and it's crazy nice. You look at that, and you think, we can do some work down here. We can make football entertaining in the pro level, and you can do it with the Raiders. Money organization, Mark Davis, I think, needs to pull the trigger. That's my thing, and look for a new head coach. Nothing against Antonio Pierce. I like Antonio Pierce, but the needs of a new head coach, it's needed. That's for sure. Next up, before we move on to our Week 18 preview and predictions, is what the Bears need. The Bears and what happened this past weekend was undeniably bad. Thursday Night Football, 6-3 loss against the Seahawks. The Bears, I looked at a lot of things like the Bears need to get rid of Caleb Williams. I'm like, they just drafted him. It's the talent. It's this. It's not the talent. Talent-wise, they're solid. They are solid. Super solid. They are a good team on offense, and they got some pieces on defense. They need a few pieces on defense, but not a lot. They need an O-line. They need an O-line, and they need a few pieces on defense, and that's it. But they need a head coach, they need management, and they need ownership. They're saying the chants were saying sell the team. While some media, not all media, but some media is saying, oh, Caleb Williams this, Caleb Williams that. It's not all on Caleb Williams. He's a rookie. And it's how he's being coached in the league. He needs an O-line. He needs management, and he needs a coach that could get him to the right level and get this team to the right track. And they need a leadership. That's one thing that the Chicago Bears lack, and it's leadership. Eberflus was not the best leader for that team. You're going to sit there and say, dude, no crap, Sherlock. We already understand that, right? That's what you're probably thinking. I get that. But here's the deal. They need leadership. They need a strong leader, not just in the GM, not just as an owner, but they need a strong head coaching leader that can make good decisions. I continue to point to Mike Vrabel because I think Mike Vrabel is the guy. I think Mike Vrabel's the guy for Chicago more than he is for Las Vegas. I think that Mike Vrabel is an interesting hire. I think it's a good hire, and I think if the Bears go after it, they should go after it. They really should. They should go after it. I think that's the number one target right now. Vrabel's Vrabel's consulting agreement has ended with the Cleveland Browns. I think that Vrabel's available for interviews. Interview Vrabel and try to hire him and bring him in because he can change leadership-wise, can change that whole organization around. I think the last few times that he was with the Titans, he didn't have that good of a record. I understand that. But the first few seasons at Tennessee, he brought them to the playoffs. And not only that, they were the number one seed at one point in the AFC playoffs. So Vrabel can do it. I think Vrabel can build a team there and build some structure there and build leadership there. I think that's what the Chicago Bears need. So let me guys know what you think. Comment on YouTube down below. Send me some messages on X, Instagram. Keep plugging into Pigskin Frenzy on all platforms. And tell me what you think the Chicago Bears need and what the Las Vegas Raiders need to do. Let's conclude this episode with Week 18 preview predictions. The top matchups that we are covering for the NFL season coming up this Saturday and Sunday. Starting off with Saturday night on NFL Network, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. The Bengals at Steelers. Bengals at Steelers. 8-8 Bengals. Steelers are 10-6. The last time the Steelers played the Bengals, it was 44-38. Steelers defeated the Bengals in Week 13 on December 1st. They rematch again in the AFC North. The Bengals' keys are simple in this one. They need to win, obviously, to get in, but the Bengals' keys are simple. Number one, you got to protect Joe Burrow. 7 sacks allowed versus the Broncos. The good news about this is they're not playing the number one team in sacks. They're playing the 21st team in sacks. Pittsburgh is currently 21st in sacks, but they got some good edge rushers like, I don't know, TJ Watt on that team. So you got to figure out a way to move the ball around, protect Joe Burrow, and let him make explosive plays downfield. So protect Joe Burrow in this game Saturday night, and everything should be fine. Number two, win the time of possession battle. If you capitalize on your third downs, win the time of possession battle, and run out the clock and score on top of that, you have a shot at upsetting the Steelers come Saturday night. Number three, you got to win, and last but not least for the Bengals, you got to win on third down. They were 7 for 13 on third downs versus the Broncos. They were capitalizing on all cylinders on third downs, and it turned into points. So if they can do that against a good Steelers defense, a strong Steelers defense, they should be fine in this ball game, and they can figure out a way to pull off the upset in the Steel City Saturday night. The Steelers' keys are simple. Number one, get to Joe Burrow. Try to get some sacks in, get to Joe Burrow, force pressure on him, and create chaos on the up front for that and blow up everything there if you're the Steelers' defensive line. Number two, protect the football. 2 turnovers versus the Chiefs. You have to capitalize in games like this, in big-time games like this. The Steelers are already in the playoffs, so the Steelers are in, so it doesn't matter. But they got to capitalize on this, man. They have to capitalize. A lot of teams are probably going to rest their starters and could. So if they rest their starters, more turnovers can happen. I don't know, but you would have to protect the football in this game if you want to win this game if you're Pittsburgh. That's number two. And number three, last but not least, establish the running game. I mean, 202 yards on the ground total versus the Chiefs. Establish the running game. If you can establish that running game, you should be fine in this ball game. So establish that, and you should be good. The questions that I got are, number one, can they protect Joe Burrow, and can the Bengals offense create explosive plays through the pass? Number two, those are the main 2 questions I got for the Bengals. The other 2 questions I got for the Steelers are, can they get to Joe Burrow? Can they protect the football? And not only that, can they capitalize? I want them to try to capitalize on drives, because they have not been capitalizing on drives on here as of late. So can they capitalize on drives? That's the main thing that I want to see from the Steelers. Who do I got winning this ball game Saturday? I think it's going to be close. A very close game in the Steel City. I think the Steelers are going to bring it. I think the Steelers are going to get to Joe Burrow a couple of times. I think they're going to run the ball well. However, it's a do-or-die game. It's for the playoffs. I think the Bengals are going to find a way to get the win here and upset the Steelers in this ball game. I think that they're going to find a way to get the win and defeat the Steelers to try to keep themselves in it. They go to 9-8. Steelers go to 10-7. The Bengals defeat the Steelers 24-17. Bengals 24, Steelers 17. The Bengals defeat the Steelers and keep their playoff hopes alive Saturday night. Next up, Seattle Seahawks at Rams. Seahawks are 9-7. The Rams are 10-6. Rams defeated the Seahawks 26-20 in overtime in Week 10 on November 3rd. So, excuse me, in Week 10, Seattle 9-7. They're already out of the playoff hunt. It's kind of a meaningless game for them. The Rams 10-6, trying to go at 11-6. Playoff seeding is there. Number 4. They're in the playoffs right now, and they have already clinched the NFC West Division title. This is a game for the Seattle to go out swinging, and this is a game for the Rams to where, it's a good look for them to make a statement ahead of the NFC playoffs. So something's got to give in this ball game. Seattle's keys are simple. Number 1, get to Matthew Stafford. 7 sacks versus the Bears. You sacked Caleb Williams 7 times. If you can find a way to win on the line of scrimmage and pressure Matthew Stafford and get 7 sacks, you should be fine in this ball game. 7 sacks. That's a lot of sacks. Number 2, slow down their running game. If you can figure out a way to slow down their running game and slow down Kyron Williams and that balanced attack, you should be fine in this ball game. They don't run the ball too effective, so you can find a way to just knock that off. You should be fine in this one. And number 3, win the line of scrimmage battle. You just got to be physical up front. If you can out-physical them on both sides of the football and get to Matthew Stafford, I think that's the biggest key there. You should be fine in this ball game coming up Sunday afternoon. Here are the Rams' keys. Number 1, minimize those penalties. 7 penalties for 46 yards versus the Cardinals. I would minimize those penalties big time. If you can, do it. Absolutely do it. I think if you can, do it. Minimize the penalties. You need to. It's going to help you win. So do not commit a drive killer and a game killer. Number 1, minimize those penalties. Number 2, protect Matthew Stafford. You had 0 sacks allowed versus the Cardinals. You played clean on the line of scrimmage this past weekend against the Cardinals. If you can do that coming up this Sunday afternoon, you should be fine in this ball game. And number 3, along those 2 lines, win the line of scrimmage battle. Just win the line of scrimmage battle. Be more physical than the Seahawks. Out-physical them up front on both sides of the ball, and you should figure out a way to win. The question that I got for both teams are, 1, for both, who's going to win the line of scrimmage battle? For Seattle, can they get to Matthew Stafford? And number 2, can the Rams protect Matthew Stafford from the Seattle defense getting to him? Those are my questions for both teams in this ball game. Who do I got winning this ball game? I think this game's going to be close. Geno is going to come out swinging. They're going to try to go out on their shield. I think that the Rams find a way to win in the fourth quarter and run away with it in the fourth quarter and get the win at home and make it 11-6 on their record. The Rams get the Seahawks. They win, and they win, they win, I would say 28-18. Rams 28, Seahawks 18. Rams 28, Seahawks 18. The Rams defeat the Seahawks. The Seahawks finish their season 9-8, and the Rams go on to the playoffs and go to 11-6. Moving on, 2 more games. Chiefs at Broncos. Chiefs at Broncos. The Chiefs are 15-1. The Broncos are 9-7. The Chiefs defeated the Broncos 16-14 in Week 11 after that crazy blocked punt. Just finding ways to win if you're Kansas City. 15-1, Broncos are 9-7. The Broncos are in the driver's seat for the last spot in the AFC playoffs. The Chiefs are comfortably in the number 1 seed, and they have to clinch the number 1 seed, and they are already won the AFC West, so they're on bye until the divisional round. The Chiefs are most likely expected to sit all their starters for this game, creating a path where the Broncos can win and go to the playoffs. So, the playoff scenario is this. If the Broncos win, they're in. If they lose and the Bengals lose, then the Dolphins are in. If the Dolphins and the Broncos both lose and the Bengals win, then they are in the number 7 seed and they get the final spot in the playoffs. So something's got to give here. It's down to 3. The Colts are out of it. It's down to 3. The Chiefs' keys are this. Number 1, minimize the penalties. 9 penalties for 90 yards versus the Steelers. You got to clean that up in this ball game if you plan on winning this game. If you do, and you win, I mean that's what you got, right? You have to protect minimize those penalties, clean that up, and you should be fine in this ball game. Number 2, establish the running game. I mean, 69 total rushing yards versus the Steelers. You got to run the ball better. I would run the ball better. Get the ball, on the ground more. Create a balanced rushing attack in this game, especially in this game if you want to try to win it and get the job done that way. So number 2, establish the running game. Number 3, force turnovers. Two turnovers versus the Steelers. Force turnovers. Force Bo Nix to throw the ball, pick it off, and fumble, and get some good things. Get some good turnovers on the ground there. That's number 3. Those are the 3 keys for the Chiefs. Number 1 for the Broncos, win on third down. 4 for 12 on third down versus the Bengals. You've got to do a lot better and capitalize on drives a lot better if you're the Broncos here. It's a big game, a playoff clinching game. You got to win on third down. Number 2, get to Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz is starting, Denver is currently first in sacks. Pressure him. Get to him. Create sacks and force them to give you the ball back with those sacks. So capitalize on that. Number 2, get those sacks in this ball game. Number 3, Bo Nix has to have another breakout game. I think he's got to have a breakout game to get them into the playoffs, and he's got to have a solid football game with less mistakes in this game. Those are my keys for the Broncos, and those are my keys for the Chiefs. Questions are for the Chiefs, can you establish that running game if you want to try to win this ball game? I say if because you're resting all your starters. Number 2, can you force turnovers? Number 1 for the Broncos, can Bo Nix have that breakout game? And number 3, can the defense play physical enough to get the job done in the sack department? Those are my questions in this ball game. Who do I got winning this ball game? I think this game is going to be close nonetheless. I think the Chiefs got talent in backup and in depth and backup as well. I think this game is going to come down to the wire. I think, and you're going to be like, dude, really? I think that the Chiefs are going to suffer their second loss in this ball game. I think the Broncos are going to win it. The Broncos are going to clinch that final spot. I think the Bengals are going to be out, and I think that the Dolphins are going to be out. Give me the Broncos to defeat the Chiefs if, and only if, they rest their starters. I think if they're most likely to rest their starters, it's a different story, maybe. But I think that the Broncos will find a way to win this ball game at home, go to 10-7, and clinch the final spot in the AFC playoffs. Broncos win 24-21. Broncos 24, Chiefs 21. Chiefs go to 15-2. Broncos go 10-7, and the Broncos get the final spot in the AFC playoffs. Give me the Broncos to win on that one. Last but not least, the Battle of the North. Vikings at Lions. Vikings at Lions. The battle between the battle for the NFC North Division title and the battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. A lot's at stake. A lot is at stake on Sunday Night Football, 8:20 Eastern, 7:20 Central kick on NBC. Sunday Night Football. Mike Trecco, Chris Collinsworth is on the call on that one. Lions defeated the Vikings 31-29 in Week 7 on October 20th in a close battle. Something's got to give in Detroit Sunday night. The Vikings' keys are simple. Number 1, you got to minimize the penalties. 7 penalties for 47 yards versus the Packers. If you can do that, clean those up, you should be fine in this ball game. Number 2, establish the running game. 69 total rushing yards versus the Packers. I think if you create more of a balanced rushing attack with Aaron Jones and Cam Akers and Ty Chandler, you should be fine in this ball game. I would run the football with the talent that you got on the ground. Keep going after it and run the football effectively. Number 3, slow down their running game. Minnesota's currently number 2 in rushing defense in the league. Detroit's currently 6th in rushing offense in the league. So if you can figure out a way, because they have a good rushing attack, a solid rushing attack, if you can figure out a way to slow it down, slow Jahmyr Gibbs down, you should be fine in this ball game. That's number 3 for the Vikings. Number 1 for the Lions. Establish the running game. If you can figure out a way to run the ball in this tough rushing defense and run it effectively, you have a shot at winning this ball game at home. Number 2, pressure Sam Darnold. Force turnovers. Get to him in sacks. Cause chaos. Blow the plays up. Just put some pressure on Sam Darnold and make him crack a little bit. If you can do that, you should be fine in this game. Number 3, Jared Goff has to have another breakout performance. I think if he has to have almost a lights out performance in this ball game. I think if he does that, then the Lions have a shot at winning this ball game. I think that's a huge key in this one. The question that I got for both teams: number 1, will Sam Darnold have a breakout performance? For the Lions, will Jared Goff have a breakout performance? Number 2 for the Vikings, can they have establish a solid running game? And number 3 for the Vikings, can they slow down their running game? Same questions for the Lions. Can they have a solid running game? And can they slow down their running game? And who is going to be the more physical football team, especially when it comes to defense in this game? Those are all the questions that I got for both teams. Who do I got winning this ball game Sunday night? This game's going to come down to the wire. It's going to be close. I think the Vikings are going to come out swinging, and they're going to play lights out on both sides of the ball. I think the Vikings are going to bring it close and keep it close. However, I just cannot deny Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs and what Dan Campbell is doing right now in Detroit. They had true grit, and they're showing true grit. Despite the injuries that they have faced, they have been consistently probably the best team and still the best team in the league, in my opinion, even though the Chiefs are 15-1. I like the Lions to take this one and squeak by and pull out their season with a win. The Lions get the Vikings again. The Lions defeat the Vikings. I'll say Lions 31, Vikings 28. Pretty much the same score as last time. Lions 31, Vikings 28. Jake Bates hits a game winner, and the Lions get the win. They get the number 1 seed in the playoff, and they are the NFC North champions, back-to-back NFC North Division champions. The Lions defeat the Vikings to get the number 1 seed and the NFC North Division title once again. Those are my NFL Week 18 preview and predictions. Those are the games we were covering for Pigskin Frenzy. That is all that we got for Pigskin Frenzy. Again, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some NFL coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Like each episode. Leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow out the pages there. I'm going to give you my honest thoughts on everything. Highlights across college and NFL football. Go and answer trivia question on on Instagram stories. It's answer today's NFL trivia question as well as all answers to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday. Check out the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. You'll find all things to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Lord, guys, enjoy this weekend. Enjoy this NFL Week 18 slate of games. Enjoy the college football playoffs coming up next weekend. Enjoy everything. I hope everyone had a happy new year and a Merry Christmas. We're all with you. We will be back Tuesday to recap the college football playoff quarterfinal and preview and predict the college football playoff semifinal games, Orange Bowl and Cotton Bowl games on Tuesday. And until Tuesday's edition, college football edition of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you Tuesday for college football edition of Pigskin Frenzy. For everybody out there, please and always stay the course. God bless you all, and the Lord is with you guys. We're all praying for you.